very often when I get introduced with that name, Dieter Wolke, they say, dieter, I'm trying. Wolke, and then people say, well, that name, what do you do? And I say, I'm a psychologist. And I step a meter back and said, are you going to analyze me? And I always say, I will analyze you, and you in the front row, be careful. So the next thing that some people then say is that, oh, I've read a bit of psychology. You know? I mean, I have read Freud, Jung, Adler, and here are these two gentlemen. And the one thing that's important, you need to have gray hair to have an eminent theory, and nature gave me that in the recent years. You need a beard, so I've grown a beard. But what you see on this picture is you need a cigar. You need a cigar to be taken seriously. Now, I won't light up, I won't inhale. But there's a poet who was born around here in Coventry, Philip Larkin, and he actually summarized what Freud and other people have said, which is basically what they said is our early experiences are determining how we turn out. And really Freud said, and that our parents, they're really responsible for us of how we turn out as adults. And here Philip Larkin.
They fuck you up, your mum and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had, and add some extra just for you.
Okay. So that basically sums psychoanalysis up for you, I mean, Sigmund Freud. Now, when I was training as a developmental psychologist, the mantra was parenting. And when psychoanalysts ask questions of adults, how your childhood was, I wanted to look at it forward. So we wanted to start off in the first day of life. And if you start studying mother-child interaction or mother-baby interaction, you observe a hell of a lot of breastfeeding. And I observed hundreds of hours of breastfeeding, and no one warned me about the side effects. I got totally turned off breasts. But I have to say, I've recovered in recent years, so that you know this. Now, one of the things which I learned, what I learned from this is that not only parents are different, but babies are very different. And one of the things they're very different from day one is how much they cry. Some cry just 1 hour a day, others cry 4 or 5 hours. Now, if you can't remember what that was like, now imagine this for 5 hours a day. Okay? Now, you've got your baby, you're out of hospital, and the parents think they get invited, and they're supposed to meet friends for a dinner party. So they take their baby along, they want to meet the baby. The baby cries all evening. They never get invited to a dinner party again. So they think, clever idea, get a babysitter. So they have a babysitter now. They come back happy after the dinner party. The babysitter said, I'm not going to look after that baby again. So what you do is you walk around, you rock your baby, you feed your baby, you do all of these different things, and you avoid supermarkets like the pest. Just imagine, just as a test, walk around with a crying baby through the supermarket. Everyone stares at you. Bad mother, bad father. So you make the experience that actually your child, your baby, is already deciding about how you parent your baby. And parents live with the illusion that they bring up their children. Now, another example, how many of you have got siblings? Well, most of you. Now, how many of you would say that your siblings have got the same outlook on life, feel the same, react the same in situations like you do? Could you put your hand up? There's no one. Well, there's one person. 2. So, if they're your biological siblings, you share 50% of the genes with them. You share 100% of the parents. Now, if parenting is so important, how can it be that people in the same household, the same social class, and the same social setting become so different? So if it's not parenting that may be that important, why is it the reason that it might not be that important? So if we look at evolution, one of the things we know is that the future is uncertain. And it does not make any sense to put all eggs in one basket, which is basically parenting, to deal with all uncertainties of the future. My parents didn't even know there was an internet when I was born. How could they prepare me for the uncertain future? They could not. So, if it's not parenting, what else could have an influence? Now, maybe the things we spend a lot of time with, or the people we spend a lot of time with. And in the 1970s, Sir Michael Rutter wrote a book, 15,000 Hours, The Effect of Secondary Education, and that's just 15,000 hours we spent with our peers in school between 11 and 16. Now, at primary school, nursery school, time you study for A-levels, the time you spend on Facebook, Twitter, all of these different things, you spend tens of thousands more hours with peers than you ever will spend with your parents. Now, when we think about peers, we always think about the television program Friends. Don't we all love to have people around who are funny, who are always there for us, who listen to us? But is that the reality? Now, you've got two types of peer relationships. The ones you can choose, they are your friends, or hopefully. And then you have got others you can't choose, like your siblings. I mean, even you think or you tell your 7-year-old brother, come on, shuff off, move out. He can't. You're caged in that family. The other fourth group is, of course, the classroom. In the classroom, same-age children are together. And it's not all, these are not your friends, but you're all put together, you're caged in the classroom. Now, when you're together with these peers, one of the things is that you have sometimes conflict. And conflict is normal, conflict is good, because we can try to negotiate solutions, and it gives you social skills. But then, research, and our own research, tells us that you will never experience as much violence than you ever experience between siblings or between peers. You get sworn at, you get hit, beaten, sometimes blackmailed, or you get socially excluded, like you can't play with me, or rumors spread, and now it can be 24/7 because of the invention of the cyberspace, because you can text, Facebook, etc. to use this. Now, one of the things is when this happens, and it's actually intentional harm doing, and it's repeated every week, several times a week, and it's actually done to a weaker person, like, for example, by a group to a weaker person, then you call that bullying. But isn't bullying just a normal part of growing up? It's part in our society, part of our society. Now, let us come back to parenting. 25 years ago, a telephone provision was made, which is called Childline. And Esther Rantzen, the TV personality, actually did launch it. And at that time, we thought that children who are abused at home suffer in silence so that they have an outlet that they can phone up. And last year, Childline was 25 years old, and they analyzed what are the reasons that children call up. And the major reason that children between 7 and 11 years of age phone up is because they're bullied or they have seen someone being bullied. Now, by the way, when there was Childline, my daughter also got a little card from Childline, and every time I raised the voice, she pulled out the thing, I phoned Childline, I phoned Childline. So, okay, so now we think about it, so there are some kids who are bullied, it's a clear concern because it's a major reason they phone up, not because they're abused by their parents. And then the question is really, does it have long-term effects? And one of the things we find in newspapers on bullying is actually a very tragic outcome, and that's suicide, taking your own life. Now, newspapers are very often sensationalist, and if you find that, they jump on this, and we don't know whether these children had psychological problems before, from what families they come, and it could have been parenting that contributed to it. But we were very lucky. My team here at Warwick, with colleagues at Bristol, have followed up thousands of children, 13,000 children, since pregnancy. And so we could actually look at their households, we could look at the parenting, and we could look at the adversity in the family, like poverty, and the psychological problems early on of the children, and then interview the children repeatedly about bullying experience and see what has happened to them by the time they got into adolescence. And to our shock, we found that there were those who were chronically bullied in primary school were 4 times more likely to have thought and have planned or have tried suicide. Now, it's a rare that children and also adolescents commit suicide. But a lot of the other children we found who were bullied developed depression and even psychotic symptoms like hallucinations or delusions like being paranoid. Now, people could say, well, this doesn't, in adolescence is a volatile time. All parents know this, when you have got adolescence, it can be volatile. So they grow out of it. Now, we had another chance when I went to the United States. There's a sample in North Carolina. It's a Great Smoky Mountain study in North Carolina. And my colleagues at Duke University had interviewed these children from 9 to 16 years and then followed them up to 26 years of age. And we looked at the data, and it's quite shocking what the adult outcomes is of those children who are victimized at school. In health, they had more mental health problems in adulthood, controlled for previous problems, more serious illness, they were more likely to smoke, and had slower recovery from illness. In wealth, it basically means they had poorer school diplomas, they were more likely to lose jobs or were dismissed from jobs, and were poor in managing their finances. And in their social relationships, they perceived their relationships to be poorer now to their parents, and they had fewer friends, and more of those who were victimized had no confidant that they could trust and talk to. So if I just summarize of what I've told you, the first thing is we are who we have become, and peers can really mess us up. Stop just blaming the parents. Think about how you actually made your parents and how your siblings made your parents different. And that's why you said it's so unfair. Then the next thing is you can make a difference. Britain, one of the things, it's in the league tables in Europe, is when there were comparisons done about the rates of bullying. And Britain is always up on the top. And there's a word which is very often used in Britain, which is, it's just a little bit of banter. But next time, think about it, what it actually means when you do it as a group and you do it to a weaker person. And the third thing is, which is very important, it's actually the people who listen, who accommodate, who negotiate, who try to bring people together, who have got the highest social status in the group. And that means you might get that date after all. Thank you.